I'm the chair of our commission. I want to start by thanking you for your application and interest.
Thank you.
And serving as a judge at the Circuit Court of County Court. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
If you could, we've interviewed you before. We do have some new members on our commission, however. If you could tell us a little about your background, experience, qualifications to hold judicial office.
My name is Robin Hutcheson, and I was born and raised here in Volusia County. Been working here in Volusia County for the last 18 and a half years at the state attorney's office. Throughout my time at the state attorney's office, with the exception of actually being assigned to the homicide unit, though I've tried homicide cases, I believe I've been assigned to every different unit that we have to offer, whether it was juvenile, misdemeanor, I've done sex crimes, career criminal, spent a lot of time in the drug unit, and my current assignment is intake. I'm assigned to Daytona Beach Police Department and Edgewater PD as their intake attorney. So I think my experience at the state attorney's office in all of those different roles gives me a unique experience compared to even some of the other prosecutors that are coming before you guys here today. As I said, I grew up in this community. I actually grew up in the legal community here too. Born and raised in that, and again, I think that is a different perspective that not everyone can say they have.
Why now? Why do you want to serve as a judge?
I've wanted to serve as a judge for a long time. I think you can see by my application that I have put in a fair amount of times in 22, I think, I can't remember when the interviews were, but I was sent up to the governor back in 22 for one of the county court. Obviously, I was not successful in getting appointed, so I'm back here today, but it's been a goal basically my entire career.
Do you have a preference as to circuit court or county court if you could choose?
I think I'm qualified to do both. Me personally, I really do kind of like county court. Some of my favorite things to do at the state attorney's office is helping the newer attorneys. For example, the other day there was a misdemeanor attorney that had his very first motion to suppress, and he was sitting in one of our Friday staff meetings, and he's like, I watched the body cams, and I did this, and there's a 13-page motion to suppress, and you could just tell he was a little nervous, and we were asking him, have you talked to the police officers yet? And he's like, well, I sent him an email, and I saw which police officers they were, and they were Daytona Beach police officers, so that's the agency I work with, so I was like, here, come to my office. So we called his main guy. I had him in my office for about an hour. He was going over everything that he had prepared, and I was like, hey, can I look at this case law? Gave him my phone number, said if you got any questions over the weekend, give me a call, anything like that. One of the things with county court, you're dealing with a lot of smaller time crimes, if you will, but pro se litigants and people that, for some of us that have tried homicides or cap sex batteries, you get a petty theft in there. Oh, that's kind of minor, but it might not be minor to that person that is coming into county court, or say they had too much to drink and they've gotten a DUI, and having a judge up there that is experienced with, basis in the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. I mean, that's a big thing that I do now. Like half my cases are traffic stops, and you're having to look at the basis of that. See if there's any suppression issues. Also had a lot of time speaking to members of the community, whether they're victims or witnesses in cases, and I just kind of like that court, but I do think I am qualified to sit on both the benches.
Do you have a judicial philosophy, and if so, what is it?
Basically, I mean, obviously to be impartial, that is your role as the judge, to stay out of either side of it, but really just to follow the law, look at the facts and evidence that is presented in front of you, whether that's interpreting a statute, to see the language of that statute and how it's interpreted, but honestly just being fair and impartial. And I do think that being polite and courteous to people is very important. You run into people, and when they find out what you do for a living, people are like, oh, we work for the state attorney's office. But a lot of things you hear about is, oh, I had to deal with such and such judge, and so much comes back to the person that's sitting on the bench and how they were treated by that person. And like I said, something might be minor to one of us in the legal field, but to that person, that could be so important in their life, and just treating people with politeness and courtesy, I think is very important to a judge.
What qualities do you think make a good judge?
Like I said, some of what are just touched on, polite and courteous, and treating everyone that comes into your courtroom with respect. I think timeliness is important. Whether it's a defendant or someone in civil court that is there, they're having to take time out of their personal life and having to take time off work to be in court. I think taking the bench on time and trying to keep your docket moving quickly. Same goes for the attorneys. You have attorneys that have appearances here in Daytona, DeLand, Flagler, anywhere else, and I think being on time is appropriate, because the judge's time is not the most important time in the world. It's everyone's time.
Does anyone have any questions?
Are you familiar with some of the concerns that had otherwise been expressed by Volusia today in terms of investigations that were done as Volusia exposed?
Oh, sorry, yes.
I'm sorry, my mistake. Volusia exposed. To the extent that you are, is there anything you want us to have in mind or appreciate as it relates to any of the criticisms that were advanced?
My understanding is you'd probably be talking about that 2019 investigation into that seems to, I don't know who runs that website or anything like that, so I don't know if it's a male or female. But the person that runs that website, that seems to be their go-to anytime I put in for judge, or again, last time when my name did come out back in 2022. As to the investigation in that, I was assigned an investigation by my office that FDLE had completed and closed. And then ultimately, based on the parties that were involved, they were not happy with FDLE's closing of it, so it came back. I was assigned by my office to look into it. I reviewed FDLE's investigation. I did some follow-up interviews of some witnesses. At the end of the day, I did not feel that we had enough evidence to charge that law enforcement officer with the crime that they were investigating then, and the investigation was closed out. I think my review of FDLE's investigation, my further interviews with some of the witnesses, there was not enough evidence to file charges on her beyond a reasonable doubt. I chose not to. I think it was handled appropriately. Whoever runs Volusia Exposed does not agree with my decision. And that's about all I can say on that.
How would you get up to speed on other areas of the law if you were to be assigned like a civil division or family law division? You practice predominantly criminal law for the state.
Absolutely. I do realize that is a weaker point that I may have being a career prosecutor. However, whether it's on a county bench or a civil bench, circuit bench, I do realize there's going to be areas of the law that I personally have not practiced. However, I like to learn, and there are areas of criminal law that I don't know. There are judges that have been on the bench that have never stepped foot in a criminal court. I think we just go back and you learn. You read, ask questions. One thing about me, I don't think I know everything. I know I don't know everything, and I'm not scared to ask questions. And if that even requires taking a 30-minute recess and going back and reading over something, researching something, I think it's more important to try to rule correctly than act like I know everything. If you look at the bench we have now, specifically in Volusia County, most of the people on the bench have been and recent colleagues of mine on both the circuit and the county bench. And I think that that's a good resource too, the people that are already on the bench being able to go and talk to some of them. But again, you just have to do the studying, if you will, to get up to speed on those areas of law that might not come as natural to me.
In closing, is there anything you want to highlight before we deliberate?
Not really. I think I've covered on everything. Just as I said, I feel that based on my experience at the state attorney's office, and even my life experience, I've lived in this community my entire life, worked here, I'm raising children in this community, so whether it's different boards that I'm on one board, still a member of a different organization, but sitting at baseball practice, which I have to do Wednesday night, I think, you come in contact with different members of the community, whether it's coaches, other parents, everything, so I'm just constantly out there meeting new people. I was at a fundraiser for a rescue organization last night, and it's just so funny of a small world of, sitting there talking to some of these people that I was at a table with people that work for the Southeast Volusia Humane Society and realizing connections that we've had in the past. And I'm out there just living my life, doing the best that I can, enjoying my job here at the state attorney's office, and I hope that I would be given an opportunity to potentially serve this community in a different way, being on the bench.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.